I'm off to a place today where my only concern is about getting through this roughly 10-kilometre walk with enough time over the course of about 6 to 8 hours. Now, for anyone that's accustomed to walking any kind of distance whatsoever, you'd find that statement quite bizarre to say. The thing about Walhalla is that it has an amazing amount of beauty in the town's village and a lot of historical context. This means frequent stopping for audio, video and photos. So much so that my concern is about being able to move quickly enough over a short distance in order to cover it all over what is a fairly extensive period of time to walk 10 kilometres. This is one that I've wanted to vlog for a long period of time. In fact, we were out there with the family back in October for Halloween weekend. And it was the most impressive Halloween, as far as Australia goes, as I've ever seen. Just an incredible investment of time and money by the local people, the local shire, in putting on an amazing time for kids, big and small. This is a location I've wanted to document for a long time, particularly because of the town itself. It does such a magnificent job of articulating the recent stories around settlement here and the gold mining activities that occurred, and they bring real emotion to the stories by putting context and humour to the places and the situations of that time. I think the local people and the local councils involved have done an outstanding example of what it is to paint history in such a way that it's memorable and also makes an impact around engagement when you're actually reading it, as opposed to sticking to facts and figures and bland details like so many information boards tend to do. There's some rad skimming rocks here. Don't worry about panning for gold, worry about panning for skimming rocks. This riverbed was made for it. Yeah, just not really enough water at the moment to sustain a 5-hopper. While very few aspects of Walhalla are historically true to its origins due to bushfire, over the decades, over the centuries, it's been rebuilt with its original heritage in mind. And so for that reason, what you find here is absolutely in touch with its 19th century roots. Walhalla, as it's named, of course, after Viking Norse legend, was originally discovered or settled in some ways by a guy called Ned Stringer, who, of course, if you're assuming discovered gold here, you would be completely and utterly correct. He discovered alluvial gold here in 1862, and originally it was called Stringer's Creek, I believe. But for whatever reason, as the township built up a populace over time, people didn't feel like the Stringer name was befitting of this area, and certainly not for the seams of gold and quartz that were discovered in Cohen's Reef. So the more apt name of Walhalla was dubbed upon the township, and Stringer was left with the creek. Poor old Ned. There's a duck in the stream right beside me. That is an extraordinarily brave Pacific black duck. To come within 1.5 metres of me is an extraordinary exhibition of courage from this duck. I can only assume it's getting handfuls of breadcrumbs fed to it on a weekly basis. G'day, how are you? My name is Nick.
If you find any freshwater crays, please feel free to share. Bye. Have a great day. Of course, as soon as he found gold, poor old Ned, such a silly duffer like every other gold miner in the history of mankind, what did he do? He went and told other people. And so ensured the gold rush to the Walhalla Valley. And in 1866, 4 years after gold was first discovered here, maps were drawn up for the first iteration of a township. So the valley floor quickly filled up. It's only narrow at its base and quite steeply sided, so as you can imagine, there were buildings clinging on for dear life off the side of this hillside, as it appears they still do today. Hopefully there's slightly more qualified builders and surveyors of structures here in the Walhalla Valley as opposed to Macrae on the Mornington Peninsula. At the peak of its powers, there was roughly 4,000 people located here in the Walhalla Valley, and this Chinese Gardens that we find ourselves in at the moment, being one of the flattest points and most expansive flat areas beside Stringer's Creek, was used as market gardens, funnily enough, by the Chinese who originally came here in search of the gold and quickly learned, unlike their Anglo counterparts, that there was a lot of work, a lot of dirt and a lot of grime for very little return, if any, and you were much better investing all that blood, sweat and tears into something that did actually pay you some reward back at the end of the day. Smart cookies. So these Chinese gardens supplied not only Walhalla, but produce was taken by pack horse into the surrounding high country and fed outlying settlements as far north as Jamison. Just an absolutely beautiful campground here. Well worth the fee over the free campground next door, but that is equally beautiful, I must say, Northside Camping Grounds. But I love the Chinese gardens here, far more room, quite expansive. I imagine easier to get your own patch of dirt and solitude in amongst other campers. And one of the great beauties of this site is that all of the sites have a really snug fit beside the trickling brook, as it is here in the summertime, of Stringer's Creek. Nothing like some nasi goreng, 2-minute noodles, Serena tuna, and a couple lightly boiled eggs, so the yolk still has a bit of run to it. Yum. That was delicious. Hats off to you, Mod. Beautiful mix-up.
First time I saw you, I knew I had to have you. Don't mean no one night stand. Gotta find a way to be a man. It's something.
No way known I'd be here right now were it not for the exploration of photography and videography. So grateful for the experience as always, and to come across my first deer antler. So just found this on the creek floor. Quite solid in weight. Estimate there's about 600 to 800 grams worth of antler here. Looks like it was off a relatively young deer by the size of it, and it's extremely solid. God, no wonder they can butt heads as ferociously as what they do. Trying to check out the structural integrity of the underside of this building, and all I can think about is the quality of the skimming rocks on the riverbed floor. Some people, the kid just never leaves them. I probably fit the mold for that pretty well.
That type of thing don't interest me when it comes to you. I can't wait to show you that my love is true.
I've navigated through Walhalla a number of times, and this is the first instance where I'm getting up and off the main street and getting onto the famous alpine walking track, which extends from Canberra down to Mount Baw. One day we'll take a look at it.
checking me out, trying to figure out what I'm all about. Come on, live alone, like you scream and shout.
This is very pretty through here. I might take a photo. Good idea. That's what I've got all this gear for, isn't it? I just winked behind my sunglasses. You weren't to know that though. It looked like I was nodding my head. I've had a few quite unique wildlife experiences since arriving here. First with the kookaburra this morning. And so while observing this kookaburra, I noticed it dive down into shallow Stringers Creek and then bobble back up out of what little water there is. And lo and behold, it had pulled up a little fish in its mouth. Unbelievable, the water level is so low, you wouldn't even suspect there was a fish of that size, albeit quite small, in the shallow water. Just a beautiful moment that absolutely wouldn't have happened if I was just wandering by. Hopefully this short vlog has made you realise that Walhalla is a very special place. Don't mind if I grab a perch, Mary, Anne and Thomas Walker. Thanks guys, I won't be long. Sorry to bore you. So 10 out of 10 for this one. 10 out of 10 Terries, of course. Come in the weekend after Halloween. Hopefully that tradition continues, because the Halloween that the Walhalla community put on was just amazing. Kids were right in the slot for absolutely having no idea that animatronics existed. So when zombies were unfurling themselves out of the makeshift graveyard that was built in the park, there was some real screaming terror and chaos, and that is what Halloween is all about. If you're tackling Walhalla from a hiking perspective, here's what I recommend. Book out a B&B or camp. It's really 6 of one, half a dozen of another. The campsites on the north side of town, both North Garden Camping Ground and the Chinese Garden Camping Ground, which as of this recording was closed to the public but is a fee-paying campsite. I presume it's shut at the moment because it's on the low side of the tourist season. Both of them are fantastic. If you have a choice, I would actually pay the fee for the Chinese Gardens Camping Ground. All the sites are nestled right alongside Stringers Creek, and it has a greater sense of nature over there than what North Garden Camping Ground does, which is a lot closer to the road. Get in, do Puffing Billy, go to the Wally pub, have a counter meal and dinner, go to the Long Tunnel Extended Gold Mine Tour, whatever that thing's called. Come here to the cemetery, do a cemetery tour at night, and with the trail that leads out of town, get a gravel bike or a mountain bike and ride it, because it is flat grade, very smooth, quite well maintained in terms of falling limbs and trees. You might strike the odd one that you got to pick the bike up and carry over the top, but otherwise it's not that eventful, I would say, on foot, but to ride it, just the right distance for a gentle ride out to the end of the train line and then ride back along the road. The historical committee here has done an absolutely fantastic job of retelling the story and the character of the place. That is actually probably one of the things about Walhalla that I enjoy the most about the place, is just the sense of history in its buildings, its infrastructure, the cleanliness of the place, and then also layered over the top of that, the amount of information and photography that is available for tourists to read and view is absolutely exceptional. Back in the day, there was clearly 1 or 2 photographers that lived here and were documenting the sense of the place, because there is an overwhelming, just an absolutely bountiful abundance of photographs found throughout this township, both in terms of signboards, museums, and in other shops about the place. Even the four-wheel drive enthusiasts will love it here. The fishermen, just general outdoor enthusiasts all around will love this place. I've got to go because Thomas is calling me in and we're due for a ride. So till next time, get Terry, and get outdoors. That was just the most horrible little click of the tongue and wink. I'm going to do that one more time. Get Terry, and get outdoors. That felt good. That felt really good, that one.
Well, howdy, y'all. Well, did you miss me?
Thanks, Mary. Thanks, Tom.
Say I told you so. Yeah, now I know the straight life is a no-go. Yeah, I was wrong. I tried to get domesticated, but yesterday I finally couldn't take it. And I was gone.
Every single day of the week.
I should have told my wife, but the minute I saw the light, I just